Welcome to Adam Does Movies live for Friday. I'm Adam, of course. We're going to be talking about action movies today. We're going to be talking about the Expendables 4. It's going to be pretty epic. I have put together 25 top of the line action films that I'm going to be going over via my Letterboxd account at Adam Does Movies. You can find me there. You can follow me there. You can also become a member on Patreon at patreon.com/Adam Does Movies, or become a YouTube Join member via the YouTube Join button. With it, you get access to 300 exclusive videos, lots of homemade videos, depending on which tier level you're at, and even recommend a video for me to roast. I just today procured a 12-part roast playlist on YouTube. These are like 20 to 30-minute videos, and there are 12 of them, ranging from Destroying Cats, the movie, if you remember that gem, Alien 3, Michael Bay Ninja Turtles, Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. There's tons of them there. I'm very proud of those, and we have more coming up. The next one on my list is Super Mario Brothers, the movie, followed by Twilight. So, I mean, if I'm lucky, I'll be going through all the Twilight movies. Who knows? Who knows where the world will take me after that? We don't have to waste any more time. I will just say, of course, super chats are appreciated. I'm not going to beg for them, but I'm going to be going through my 25 movies on this list. I have way more that I'm going to shout out. If you have one I don't mention, or if you just agree, throw a super chat in and say, hey, Adam, why don't you put this up on the board? Let people know that I think End of Days with Arnold Schwarzenegger is one of the greatest action movies of all time. I'll disagree, but I'll put it up there. I'll prop the hat. Con Air, maybe that's on your list. I think it was almost on mine because I do really like that movie. Not quite, though. Let's get into it. I'm going to start with the Expendables 4 review. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. And there will be no spoilers. I've decided with movies that aren't big tent pole films, I'm not going to do these full movie reviews where I set up the camera, mix the audio in, get the video clips, and make it like a 5-hour affair for $4 and a couple thousand views if I'm lucky. It's just not worth my time, and it's not going to happen. I'm going to do them on the lives instead. It's a little bit more organic that way anyways. I'm just kind of of course, it's not going to be as tightly executed by me. I'm going to be stumbling over things. And that's one other thing I want to point out. I noticed a comment, and it only takes one. It only takes one to really drive me into the ground. Someone said, I really enjoy watching you screw up names and just be, I'm of course, paraphrasing, but basically it was, you suck at this. You're not good. You butcher names. You don't know anything, blah, 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 whatever. I just respond, don't watch. I've made this clear, I think, and if I haven't, I apologize. And if I come off as something that I'm not, I also apologize. But my number one goal here is to provide entertainment through comedy and to provide, to become a source for movie news and rants and roasts and reviews without the the puff, without the expertise, knowledge, or the fact that I'm not like some trained movie critic professional, and I don't claim to be in the ear of Hollywood and the actors and the writers. Like I'm you is what I'm getting at. I'm just a regular dude going to movies. I have a full-time job. I have a family. This is a passion project hobby, and I will fuck up a million name pronunciations. I will screw up on dates movies come out. I should not be your only or number one source for like factual movie news content. I should be your number one source for having a good time and maybe being relatable. That's it. That's it. I just want to get that out there in case I somehow misled you over the years and you're like, oh, Adam, he's just he's the genuine deal. He's really on the pulse of everything going on in Hollywood. He's the guy I turn to when I want to know what insider knowledge there could be, or he's flying all across, going to red carpet premieres. He knows all these people. No, I'm just, that's not me at all. I'm a regular dude, just a regular jackass trying to keep up with news like everyone else. Okay, we do have a super chat right out of the gates, which I appreciate. Let's bring it up. Josh Carlos 98 for $4.99. Thank you, Josh. Edge of Tomorrow is an action gem. T2 and Aliens are all timers. What are your favorite action movie quotes? Die Hard excluded, of course. Josh, we are actually going to do a favorite movie quotes episode. I think that's going to be my podcast coming up on Monday, and I will be, or maybe I'll do it. You know what? I don't know if I want to use that for the podcast. I feel like we have more fun when we can kind of share in these things together. So, Josh, Tuesday or Friday will be a movie quote one, and you can hold me to that. Because again, I just see them. You know what? I'm going to make a note right now. We'll make a note as I'm talking through this that next week stream favorite movie quotes, comma, worst movie quotes, comma, timeless movie quotes. So essentially it's going to be a 3 for the price of fun. I'm going to give you my personal favorite that I quote still to this date. I'm going to give you movie quotes that have withstood the test of time. And I'm going to give you movie quotes that I can't stand hearing or I couldn't stand hearing when they were popular. One that springs to mind right away is, "You're my boy, Blue." When Old School came out, that phrase was said so often. I almost hated the movie after a while. I don't. Old School's great, but it got me close. I was on the fence. I was ready to jump and say, nope, we're done. All right, thank you, Josh, for the questions. You and I may agree with maybe some of the picks for action. But since you asked, what are your favorite action movie quotes? I really like, off the top of my dick, I really like in Predator when Arnold throws a knife through a dude and pins him to the wall and he goes, "Stick around." It's so dumb. It's so good, though. I love it. Arnold has a lot. Even in True Lies, he looks at the dude that's strapped to a missile and he goes, "You're fired." Beep, and launches the thing. Do we have another one from Josh here before I move any further? You have another one from Josh here? Have you seen True Lies? Ask Josh for $4.99. Very underrated by James Cameron. What are your underrated action films? Josh, I love the super chats. I feel like you might want to hold off for a second because I could potentially cover some of the stuff that you're asking me, but I love it. So thank you for the support. I really do appreciate it. All right, let's quickly talk about Expendables 4 because I know people are just chomping at the bit to know what I thought. If you're not familiar, Expendables 4 is the 4th entry in the Expendables franchise. Yeah, this is why you come to me for a source of movie information. I know all the deets. This one's directed by Scott Waff, not sure. Again, I don't pronounce names properly. I'm not that kind of person. Everybody's an expert but me, I guess, online. He previously directed a gem called Need for Speed, based on the video game property. Yeah. So he knows what he's doing behind the lens of a camera. Said no one ever. This is a fucking ugly looking movie. Expendables 4 is shot terribly. The acting is horrible, and I know it's Expendables. You have some of the worst action actor stars in one place. Dolph Lundgren. There's a couple wrestlers in here, UFC guys. You got two of the dudes from The Raid in this movie. Do you think they utilized them properly? No, of course they didn't. Jason Statham's in the mix, of course. Sylvester Stallone's in it for 10 minutes. Megan Fox is in the mix. Oh, wait, what did I just say? Sylvester Stallone's in it for 10 minutes? Yeah, I'm being serious. You would think the leader of the Expendables would kind of be a bigger, more prominent player in the fourth entry, and you'd be wrong. Because the story in this one revolves around Christmas, aka Jason Statham's call sign as an expendable, and how he's trying to uncover something. Or, you know what's really funny is I have IMDb up. Let me give you the plot synopsis for this one. Armed with every weapon they can get their hands on, the Expendables are the world's last line of defense and the team that gets called when all other options are off the table. That's it. That's the plot synopsis for Expendables 4. In other words, there is no plot. Something about a nuke, something about transporting it on a large ship. 75% of the movie takes place in one location, and it's that big aircraft carrier in the ocean. But more specifically, it's a soundstage of an aircraft carrier somewhere in Hollywood. This is a very cheap-looking, cheaply made film. The advertising is nowhere to be found. I tried to even find a wallpaper or a poster, and what you're looking at on the screen is the best they had to offer. Just Google Expendables posters, and you will be amazed at how little anything they put into this. They're looking to recoup, I think, 15 to 30 million. The opening day numbers are 750,000. That's how far from grace this film franchise has fallen. Now, don't get me wrong. I've never been big on the Expendables movies, and I love the shit out of the actors in these movies. You've had Bruce Willis in them. You've had Jean-Claude Van Damme. You've had Mel Gibson. You've had some of the greatest players in the action space. Jet Li, Jackie Chan. Wait, I don't know. No, Jackie Chan hasn't been in it. I apologize. Jet Li, though, has definitely been in a couple of them. I think Antonio Banderas was in one. You have Wesley Snipes. And I brought up Antonio Banderas because his counterparts in this, or a person that does a decent Antonio Banderas impression, I don't know who the actor is. If he's related to him, I would not be surprised. Let me look on here really quickly and see if he pops out. No, I don't know if it's his son. It must be just a dude that I guess is the guy in the movie is playing his son. So whatever Banderas' character was, his son is in this one, and he basically just does a poor man's cosplay of Antonio Banderas. I mean, it's a good impression, but that's really it. Most of the characters have nothing to do. 80% of it's Jason Statham. I like Jason Statham, but it's no secret he does pretty much mediocre to horrible films. This is on the horrible side. And I feel like a lot of the time we were watching Meg 2 precursor, because it does take place again on an aircraft carrier. The intro to Meg 2 takes place on an aircraft carrier with Jason Statham. So this really feels like this is him escaping one movie and going right into the next shitty one. Action-wise, if you're like Adam, these movies aren't about the acting. They're not about the story. They're about the cool action scenes with our old dogs coming back for one last ride 4 times over. I agree with you. But when you don't have good acting, which these never do, when you don't have good dialogue, which this one certainly doesn't have, when you have no story at all, again, here, and when your main protagonist is nowhere to be found, what you're left with is a B to D to Z set of characters. Some of these people, I don't even know who the fuck they are. Why are you in an Expendables movie? 50 Cent is in this? This is where we're at now. 50 Cent is in the movie as an expendable. Why? I could not wrap my dick around what I was looking at with this film. So poorly shot. Now, again, if you're looking for action, there is a lot of it in the second half. It all takes place on the ship. And that's really it. There is a various amount of weapons being used. Some people spin little chain things. Some people throw axes. None of it looks very good. The camera's very close up. It's cutting a lot. The CG, I know people say this once in a while. It legitimately is PlayStation 2 graphics at times. It looks so fucking bad. I made a joke in my YouTube short when I was leaving the theater and on TikTok. You can follow me on TikTok if you want as well, Adam Does Movies. I said that it's really bad when Megan Fox is the best actor in the movie. And I am 100% serious. Megan Fox, who I don't think can really act at all unless she's playing one specific character, which is like a hardcore bitch, which is what she plays here. She can do that very well. Otherwise, she's terrible. She recently did the voice act in Mortal Kombat 1. It's the most embarrassing thing I've heard since Peter Dinklage did his voice in Destiny. Equally as horrible. They're just reading off the script. But here, she's having a lot of fun. She's actually showing some range. She still looks great. All the plastic surgery and stuff's really paying off. But you put her, who's essentially a Barbie doll, action Barbie, caked on makeup, dressed like a Kardashian, and then you put her next to these like 75, 80-year-old tough as nails, catcher mitt faces. She stands out like a sore thumb. It's just such a bizarre contrast of character. But she also is having the most fun. Everybody else seems completely checked out. And I was too by the time this hour 45 minutes shut down. Expendables 4 is a complete waste of time. I don't know how this script got through. Apparently, Stallone was too busy to be in his own franchise doing his reality TV show with his daughters, or who knows what he was doing for the weekend. This also feels like it was shot over an extended 3-day weekend. Like, legitimately, they had no time with a lot of these actors. So they're like, we'll green screen them in. It's fine. We'll fix it in post. And that's that. And this is Expendables 4. That's my review. If you saw it, let me know. Throw a super chat out and say, hey, Adam, Expendable 4 is great. It was good, Adam. It was good. We got one more from Josh Carlos. The Losers 2010 is greater than Expendables 4. Josh Carlos, you could insert basically any movie title there and it'd be greater than Expendables 4. Howling 7 New Moon Rising is borderline better than Expendables 4. That's maybe a bit unfair. Let's get to the fun part of this. That was Expendables 4. I think I said enough. Let's go to my list. You're going to see a couple of them right out of the gates. Fair warning, this is not in order. I always have to say that because, my pride's on the line. Here we go. The first one, a lot of these are going to be things you're familiar with if you know me, but that's okay. Some of them might be out of left field, and you're like, oh, wow, Adam, great pick. First off, we have Die Hard, 1998, Nakatomi Plaza. Wait, 1988? Oh, my God. How old am I? Yeah, of course, 1988. Why did I think this was an early 90s movie? Okay, 1988. Even better. It's really holding up. John McClane, Hans Gruber. They're at the Nakatomi Plaza. John, I don't have to relive the story. John McClane is in the wrong place, I would say, at the right time, because he's the only cop that can get things done. His wife Holly's there. The terrorists have taken over. They're robbing the place. I mean, they're glorified criminals, and they have style. They have substance. This was really a tough as nails brawler film where you could identify with the lead character. John McClane, Bruce Willis. He's not like super ripped like Chris Hemsworth. Like, he's in shape, but he's in like realistic normal guy shape, hitting the gym 3 or 4 times a week shape. He's balding. He's getting the shit kicked out of him throughout this movie, but he keeps getting up, bashed and bloodied. It's got some great violence. Dude's getting choked with chains. He's dressing people up as Santa and spelling stuff out in their blood. I mean, it's a fucking awesome movie from beginning to end. Incredibly quotable. Alan Rickman sells everything he's in, and it's no exception here. I've praised this movie up and down, and for good reason. Die Hard is a movie I've seen a stupid amount of times. I watch it every holiday, it's a Christmas movie, of course, and I celebrate it. I really do. Next up on the list, we have Lethal Weapon, 1987. So just a year Richard prior, Lethal Weapon comes out. This is a Richard Donner vehicle. We have Riggs, Murtaugh, Danny Glover, Mel Gibson. I don't think Renee Russo's not in this one. She doesn't come in until later. You have Gary Busey as the villain. This movie I just watched not that long ago with my son Connor, who's 11. He felt very cool watching this R-rated film. It's got a ton of swearing. It's got a little peek of nudity here and there. You got a dude getting shocked in the water. Mel Gibson's just completely unhinged, and that works out well for this character as well. Watching him jump off of a building right away with the guy, and how he's just got this raw passion for the job. He doesn't give a shit if he dies. And then you have Murtaugh, which is a great counterpoint because his partnership with him is one of begrudging acceptance, I would say. Murtaugh is a family man. He's got a bunch of kids. He's got a wife. He's just trying to pay his bills and get out without getting shot. And Riggs is doing everything he can to get shot. So it just plays off very nicely. Some really good action. A surprisingly long final boss battle with Busey, which I wasn't expecting. Again, it's been a long time since I had watched it previously. So when they were out in the front yard, just kind of duking it out while the rest of the cops watch and root him on, that was freaking raw. That was awesome. And Lethal Weapon's awesome. I should also point out that there's 25 on this list, but really I'm opening up an entire box, an entire war chest of movies here, because for every first movie that's on this list, I can confidently say there's at least one or two other entries in the property that's just as awesome, if not arguably better in some people's eyes. So for instance, Die Hard. We have really we have two really awesome Die Hard movies. Die Hard, and I would say Die Hard with a Vengeance. Same director did. McTiernan did both. And those movies are fucking awesome. Die Hard 2, Die Harder. It's a step down for sure. Quite a big one. It's a little cheesier. Well, it's a little cheesy, I should say. I don't think Die Hard's cheesy at all. The second one is a little campy, but you do have the T-1000 in there rolling around on the ground, shooting dudes, and that's pretty sweet. There's some good double crosses and triple crosses. It's, again, taking place on Christmas. And then the fourth one, we water down. McClane stops smoking. He shaves the head fully. He's got his kids annoying him. He's got Justin Long there, and it's PG-13. Why did they do this? Why did they censor themselves? But all that baggage aside, it's still pretty kick-ass. It's still a very watchable, fun movie. Okay, Lethal Weapon, same. We don't talk about Die Hard 5. Die Hard 5 goes in the trash can. We forget it exists, right? We wipe that from our memory. Lethal Weapon does not have the baggage that Die Hard does. Lethal Weapon stays rated R all the way through. We got 4 really solid Lethal Weapon movies. Now, I will say the only difference between Lethal Weapons is as they go on, they get more comedy-based and less action-based. There's still action, but it goes from, I would say, a drama action comedy to a comedy action drama by the time it's all said and done. You have Chris Rock in the fourth one, who's freaking hilarious. And the way he bounces off Joe Pesci as Leo Getz, I think, or Leo Gates, it's perfection. It's perfection. So yeah, they let these two comedic geniuses. I mean, Pesci is a comedic genius in this movie. He's really good. But they let them just go at it. It's hilarious. Okay, staying focused. We have The Rock. The Rock, first off, it's Michael Bay. All right? This is Michael Bay's best movie, in my opinion. It's got all the Bayisms you expect. Lots of slow motion. Lots of cameras kind of like looking up at their heroic person. We got explosions up the wazoo. We got a badass soundtrack. We got car chases. And we have freaking Alcatraz prison. And we're not escaping it. No. We're busting into it. That's what makes this so fun. You got Nicolas Cage going full on Cage many times in this movie. Sean Connery being a badass. And you got freaking Ed Harris as the smart, calculated villain. Oh my God, this movie's bad. I need to watch this movie again like yesterday. I need to show my kids this movie because it's cool. I'm guessing it's about 20 minutes, maybe a half hour too long because Michael Bay overstays his welcome every single time. But there's a lot of good stuff in this movie from beginning to end. A lot of good. My favorite scene in the film are when the Marines break into Alcatraz. They come up through the sewer like a ninja turtle, and they're in a standoff with Ed Harris and his men, who clearly have the upper hand. They have the high ground, Anakin Skywalker. They have him surrounded, and there's like this. Is it Bean? Is it Sean Bean? That's not Sean Bean. Oh, who is it? I'm looking down the list. I thought one of the Marines was the dude from Terminator. I always forget his name. Well, whatever. There's a standoff scene and it goes back and forth. The music's super dramatic, and Ed Harris is like, "I need your men to stand down. I need your men to stand down." The other guy's like, "I will not tell my men to stand down." And it just goes back and forth, and it keeps heating up. It's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Let's take a break and see if some super chats came in so I can catch my breath. Kelly Clarkson. Catch my breath. No one can take me down. The Juan for $5. Thank you, Juan. Stallone disagreed with the producers over the direction of the franchise. They should have listened. Oh, is this like a Creed thing all over again? Stallone keeps getting like railroaded in his own movies? That's too bad. Okay, so they basically gave him a glorified cameo in the fourth, and they cash grabbed their way out. You know, I think Expendables 2 is a really fun movie. I think Expendables 2 hit the tone perfectly. There's lots of corny, campy moments, tons of one-liners, over-the-top action. The first Expendables felt like a movie. They were trying to make kind of a serious, gritty film with callbacks to old action movies, but it was a little too boring. It wasn't large enough in scale, I didn't think. And I think 2 hit it the best. Plus, you have Jean-Claude Van Damme as the villain, which is great. Let's get back to the list. John Wick. Again, there are 4 John Wick movies. All of them have tons of great action moments. Very fun films from beginning to end. John Wick 1 is on here because it's the one that started it. And I also do think this is easily the best. Not the best, easily the best for me. Because not only does it have great action, but it actually has a story that has some meaning to it, some purpose. It's a revenge tale. It's a tale about a guy trying to get out of his past, but it pulls him back in. Whether it's its fault or it's his fault. It's obviously his fault. He can't let these sleeping dogs lie. He has to go back for vengeance. I think this is a great movie that kind of came out of nowhere. I remember the trailers being very ho-hum. Like, all right, this is a low budget kind of C-list film. I went to it. I was floored by the awesome action, the gun fu, and Keanu just being Keanu in the best ways possible. This neat little underground society they had going really played well in the first film. This is kind of a Matrix 3 situation for me when it comes to the John Wick sequels. Matrix shouldn't have gone all in on Zion. I don't give a shit about Zion. John Wick shouldn't have gone all in on the underground secret spy stuff. I don't care at all about the high table. When you lose me from reality, you lose a big piece of the story. And the high table, the shenanigans out in the middle of the desert where he's on a horse, I'm too far separated at this point. Now I'm just watching Looney Tunes action, and it's still fun, but it's surface level. That's why John Wick 1 works so good. But again, these are all really, really slick films, very stylized movies. This should come as no surprise, 1986. Man, 86, 87, 88. What a year. What a year for action movies, huh? What a time. James Cameron, probably not the last time we'll see him on the list. He takes a tried and true formula from the first Aliens movie, the Jaws style, keep your creature in the dark, solo, picking people off one at a time. It's eerie. And he says, fuck it. I'm going full-blown action for the sequel. We're going to have space marines. We're going to have cool one-liners. We're going to have awesome guns. We're going to have a ton of aliens. We're going to invest in the lore. We're going to expand it. There's going to be a queen alien, a mother. There's going to be a bunch of xenomorphs, as we're labeling them. He just goes all in on this lore and on the action. Spectacles through the roof. He really takes this into a new genre altogether, and I appreciate it. This is a very fun movie. You got Bill Paxton in here. Sigourney Weaver is back, of course. Oh, the guy I was thinking of, Michael Biehn. I think I said Sean Bean before, who's from Lord of the Rings and whatnot. He always dies in his movies. Michael Biehn, who also dies in pretty much everything he's in, is in this one. I think he survives in this, but they kill him off anyways later. So screw it, right? They kill him off for the third movie. Yeah, is Michael Biehn in The Rock? I felt like he was. I think Dr. Cox is in The Rock from Scrubs. Dr. Cox, that actor, I forget his name, but he's been in a ton of stuff, just like cameos. He's in Seven. He has like a small bit part in Seven. All right, I'm completely off base. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. Next up, speaking of Cameron, skee-dee-dee, slee-dee-dee. Skee-dee-dee-dee. Why is this song so beautiful and haunting at the same time and badass at the same time? It's got everything. We have Arnold. You can't have an action list without Arnold Schwarzenegger on it several times. And here he is, Terminator 2 Judgment Day. The first one can be on the list as well. I don't know why I jumped to 2, because 1 and 2 are both freaking great in their own. Again, this is another case where Cameron kind of flips the genre again. The first movie is like a horror thriller. Schwarzenegger's playing the villain here. He's creepy as crap. He's hunting down Sarah Connor, wants to kill her to prevent Judgment Day. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I don't think Judgment Day mentioned in the first movie? I think it might be. But whatever. Skynet wants to stop her from giving birth to John Connor, who's eventually going to stop the robots after Judgment Day. Whatever. It's very much a mess. It's time travel shenanigans. But Judgment Day is an action film, first and foremost. There are horror elements, of course. The T-1000 is scary as crap. He's going through the bars. He's blading through the door. This movie is a powerhouse of practical effects and CG married together in perfect harmony. Has it shown its age? Not really, to be honest with you. It still looks damn good. I think it helps that it's this liquid metal robot. This chassis is made of kind of a liquidized whatever material that you can't really, I don't know. It's like one of the easier things to animate, I guess, because it is abstract. You know, it's just blobby shapes and reflections, and it's one of the easier things you can build out. So from an effects standpoint, they didn't have a terrible amount of time, a terrible amount of headache. But I mean, there's so many moments in this movie that are just iconic as all shit. Arnold not being able to kill people because Connor requested he not, so he's shooting them in the legs. He gets that big ass grenade gun. I don't know what you call these things. He's just shooting those pellets through the air, providing the smoke. The T-1000 liquidizing through the helicopter. Have you seen this boy? The chase in the dam. Oh my God. When Arnold is just on the motorcycle, popping the shotgun, the sawed off, shooting the locks off the fence, all practically done. And it's the reason why you're along for the ride. If it looked fake, if it looked like he was in front of a green screen the whole time, if there wasn't a stunt double actually driving a motorcycle and doing this stuff, you are separated. You lose some of that connection to the scene and some of that wow expression and feeling that you're getting. That emotion is gone when it's so fake. Again, I'm back to Expendables 4 because there's so many scenes in that movie where the guys are jumping on cars or they're on a turret in the back, and it's so clearly a green screen, and they just did that cheap, almost anime effect where they blur the background and have it moving super fast. No, that's a hard pass for me. Oh God, I just lost. What did I do? Cancel. Jeez. What? I don't even know what that was. I lost the video for a second, but I'm back. Let's go to the next one on the list. Speaking of Stallone, we brought him up earlier. Here we have it. Rambo First Blood. Is this movie just called First Blood? Interesting. Letterboxd has it as just First Blood. It clearly says Rambo all over the poster. This is a very simple, very well executed action film about a dude coming back from war. and he's got a bunch of hillbilly dipshit cops harassing him, giving him a hard time. The guy's seen everything. He's watched his comrades die in his arms. He's got some PTSD for sure, but that doesn't excuse the crap that he's going through. And these cops are now out to kill him. The movie's called First Blood because they drew First Blood. He's a killing machine. You don't throw a punch at a killing machine and expect to get a slap on the wrist, okay? This guy's using guerrilla tactics. He's setting up traps in the woods. He's kind of like Home Alone, booby trapping things. But, instead of slipping on marbles and, pretending to get hurt, these guys are getting impaled on spikes. It's a great movie. Stallone, very little talking involved. It's all just about his presence, and he has the presence. He's got that star power. In the final moments, he breaks down. He starts crying to his superior. And, I love this movie. It's really good. 1982. A lot of 80s on this, I'm noticing. A lot of 80s. All right, here's something a little bit more modern. We have The Raid 2011. Again, Rambo. You can take Rambo through, what do they have, 5 of these movies? There's Rambo, First Blood Part 2, Rambo 3, John Rambo, and then I think the last one's just called Rambo again? I don't know. The last one sucked. Most of them aren't great. The first one's badass, and then I really liked John Rambo, I think it was called, when it's like hard R. Dudes are getting everything blown off. One guy throws a baby in the air and takes a blowtorch and just freaking fries the baby. It's insane what they do in that one. The Raid. There are 2 Raid movies, Raid and Raid 2 Redemption. I love them both about equally. The first one, very simple premise. Getting out of the what is this? I haven't seen this movie since it released, so I apologize. I'm not going to remember the plot. Let me just read it. Deep in the heart of Jakarta's slums lies an impenetrable safe house for the world's most dangerous killers and gangsters. Until now, the rundown apartment block has been considered untouchable to even the bravest of police. Cloaked under the cover of pre-dawn darkness and silence, an elite SWAT team is tasked with raiding the safe house. Okay. Yes, this movie almost entirely takes place in this safe house, going from floor to floor, tons of hand-to-hand combat, some awesome explosions and gunfighting. This movie is legitimately insanely cool. The sequel takes the simple premise of the first one and kind of runs with a more wild script, a very, I would say a more, what's the word I'm looking for here? Complex script. This first one's a very simple idea, and the second one's got like a prison break. There's a rivalry between family members and gangs. There's different characters that come and go. One's got a baseball bat. One's got a different weapon they use. I saw both of them once. I did a movie feud on these movies if you want a more, actual cohesive thought on them, because I only saw them each once, but I remember being blown away by them, and I really do need to watch them both again. I just want to put them on the list because they really are that good. Check out The Raid and The Raid 2 Redemption, and you can check out my movie feud on The Raid versus The Raid 2. That's a pretty good episode if I recall. And I actually do go over the story, the characters, and the action in detail. Predator, another 80s, 87. Dutch and his gang of commandos, they go into the rainforest and they don't come out. At least not all of them. In fact, none of them except for Dutch. And I believe the woman gets away somehow. She goes on a plane or some shit. We have another very simple idea. A bunch of commandos hired by the CIA go into the rainforest on a rescue mission. That's over right away. Turns out the people they're going to see are all skinned alive, hanging in trees, and something has gotten to them that is not the villains of the picture. It's this alien that's crashed down, and it's now hunting our hunters. So these big burly men get broken down into just shells of themselves. I still have one major problem with this movie, and it's that the cool badass Indian dude with the big ass knife slices himself down the chest. He's going to have this cool showdown with the Predator on a log, and the camera cuts away, and all we hear is him scream and die. It's the most anticlimactic thing I've ever witnessed. It just bothers me so badly that we don't get that fight. This is another. Oh, this is John. I didn't even know this was John McTiernan. Same director that did Die Hard, did Predator. Man, John McTiernan's awesome. A lot of quotes in this movie. Anytime. Still my favorite is anytime. Anytime. Okay, we have... Oh, man, I love this movie. 300. You want to talk about quotable? Zack Snyder here. This is the movie that put Zack Snyder on the map for me, and I think for pretty much everyone else. 300, shot on a very small green screen soundstage, I think for the entire film. I think it's all green screened. Based on a Frank Miller comic, a graphic novel. This follows Gerard Butler as Leonidas and his ragtag crew of 300 Spartans. And by ragtag crew, I mean the best of the best. If these pups were born with any defects or abnormalities, or they just didn't look up to snuff, the Spartans just straight up kill them. They'd start over again. They really bred boys that would become vicious fighting machines. This is what they call a fishtail, a fisherman's story. It's based incredibly loosely on supposed real events that took place in history between the Spartans and the Persian army. But what we have here are Spartans going up against these freakish things beyond nature. There's like ninja assassins at one point. The dialogue is super heavy. It's just about as bro-tacular as you can get. Leonidas has some of the greatest lines ever. I hope you had a hearty breakfast because tonight we dine in hell. It's being narrated incredibly well. Lena Headey's in this as the wife. This movie I've seen a stupid amount of times, and I want to watch it again right now because it really is a graphic novel put on the big screen. Snyder gets it perfectly right here, and it's probably because he didn't write the movie. I think that's where things really become disconnected with Snyder. What's next? Okay. Oh, should point out, I keep forgetting to do this. Predator sequels, none of them live up to even a small amount of the coolness the first one had, but I think almost all of them are watchable to a degree. Even the horrible, completely misguided Predator, or The Predator, I believe it's called, The Predator, it's a terrible movie, but it's a terrible, fun, watchable movie. You can watch the movie and laugh at how bad it is. And I really liked Prey, which is the prequel to Predators, not to be confused. Oh my God, these fucking naming conventions. So Prey is the prequel to Predator. Predator is the introduction to this universe. The sequel's Predator 2. The next one is Predators. Then you have The Predator. And then we're at Prey. Wow. What a nightmare. What a nightmare of naming. There are 300 movies, 300 and 300 Rise of an Empire. 300 Rise of an Empire is not very good. It's watchable schlock. It's someone doing a poor impression of Zack Snyder because he didn't come back to direct. Leonidas is not in this one. Lena Headey's there. She looks wildly different, probably because there's I think there's like a decade in between these movies. Yeah, it's a watchable movie, but it's not great. All right, X2, X-Men United. You can throw X-Men. This is one of the exceptions where I would say X-Men 1 is a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie, but it's a nice starter course to these X-Men characters. X-Men 2, though, goes way more extreme. Everything's so much better here. The visuals, the action, the storyline. Singer and crew really got things buttoned up and was able to play off of the different mutant abilities and mix and match scenes and how they would be utilized. For instance, there's a spot where they are taking off in the X-Wing away from the suburban little village they were at when the pyro started blowing up cop cars. They get in the X-Wing, they fly off, the army shows up, they start shooting missiles at the thing. Storm is making tornadoes to try to, weave in and out and get away from these fighter jets. Missiles get through. So Jean Grey uses her psychic ability to try to veer him off course, starts going Dark Phoenix, a precursor to the third terrible movie. She starts getting screwed up. And so then you have the top of the ship rips open, Rogue flies out, and then Nightcrawler uses his disappearing act to grab her and teleport back in. Then it all culminates in the plane going down, where Magneto stands, puts it back together, and Humpty Dumpty's this thing onto the ground. I mean, how many immune abilities were just said there? Like 5, 6? All in that one 3-minute sequence. And you can find that throughout this movie. But the X-Men opening in this film with Nightcrawler going through the White House, it's still top 10 action superhero moment for me. I think that scene is so well executed. Plus, you have the mansion raid where we see Hugh Jackman full on Wolverine, blades through a guy's chest, going through the hallways, taking dudes out. Colossus cameo. The final battle has a bunch of great stuff. Mystique smoking hot, still doing all her great things as Rebecca Romaine Stamos. I can't say enough good things about X-Men and X-Men 2. And then X-Men 3 gets a pass now because the one that comes after it fixes it. So X-Men 3 is this like schlocky, crappy third outing that disappoints everyone that was very excited for it after X2 was brilliant. And then Days of Future Past brings back that brilliance again. Bryan Singer comes back, fixes the mistakes of director Brett Ratner in the third, and what we have is a damn good movie. X2 and Days of Future Past, I think, are just they're top of the line comic book films to me. You keep taking this down the line, and X-Men has some decent ones here and there. I know a lot of people like X-Men First Class. I think it's overrated personally, but it's not a bad watch by any means. Days of Apocalypse shit is really bad. Dark Phoenix is even worse somehow. And then we have Logan, which is masterclass. One of the greatest comic book movies, full stop. It's a mixed bag to be sure, but it's one that is they're all at least watchable films. Okay, Kill Bill Volume 1. Uma Thurman. We have a strong female lead. And for Quentin Tarantino, it's about time. Uma kills it in this role, inspired heavily by Japanese anime, by old kung fu films. Kill Bill has it all. It even has an animated section in the movie for a few minutes. I haven't seen this in a while. I need to go back to it. I did watch it a couple of times when it hit theaters and at home release. I was very much anticipating Volume 2 to close things up nicely. Very disappointed with the ending. The final 25 minutes of Volume 2, I don't like it. And I think it keeps Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 from being these awesome, brilliant, timeless films because it went full Tarantino at the end and he decided to subvert expectations. And that doesn't work for me. Let's get into a big mode. Let me bring up a larger view for myself. But Kill Bill Volume 1 has a lot of creative action set pieces. You, of course, have that big fight with the 88 gang. Is that what they're called? It's something like that. Something like there's a lot of is what I'm saying. Lucy Liu, of course, in this. You know what movie I just realized I do not have on my list, and I'm going to say it, and you're going to say, okay, I get it. Kung Fu Hustle should be on this list because Kung Fu Hustle is a gem. It's a gem. It's like a combination of The Matrix meets Looney Tunes, and I'm not even joking. It's very much a comedy action movie. You should absolutely watch it if you haven't seen it. Kung Fu Hustle. The Matrix. Speaking of The Matrix, that was not intentional. It just showed up. I don't need to say anything, really. I mean, this movie basically was my high school career. I was pretend running up walls because I didn't actually have any ability to do it for real. I was pretend dodging bullets with my friend, yelling Trinity, help. I recreated scenes when we would act out fighting stuff on camera. We would make our own little mini Matrix movies. I made stupidly bad wallpaper montages in like Microsoft Word or whatever you could use at the time on the computer. I was obsessed with this film. I saw it 3 or 4 times in the theaters, and I still to this day remember how freaking amazed I was where I was at in Albert Lee, Minnesota, watching this with my family. It was just a bunch of guys went to it, like fathers, sons, the grandpa was in the mix. And as this roller coaster ride was happening, I just remember looking over it several different times going, can you believe this? What is this movie? Why is it so awesome and different from everything else I've ever seen? And I'm sure that was the same thing Star Wars fans had when that original New Hope hit theaters. But The Matrix was groundbreaking. It was revolutionary. It was copied and pasted into other films for decades to come. And it really wouldn't be till Keanu came back in John Wick to kind of reset the formula that we would have non-stale action movies again. Because John Wick kind of opened up another genre of this gun fu, flipping around, dudes with bulletproof vests sort of scenarios. But The Matrix for the longest time was the playbook. And before that was the Die Hard playbook, right? Every movie was trying to be like Die Hard. Die Hard on a bus with speed. Die Hard on a plane with Con Air. Die Hard on a, you name it, it's there. But The Matrix, that was it. That was the bullet time, the slick look, the glasses, the hacking, the trench coats, the trench coat mafia. That was a big thing. Thanks, Matrix, for kind of giving some sad ass kids. What's with? Why is The Matrix constantly being used by dipshits for the complete wrong reasons? You had the trench coat mafia. Now you have the red pillars. That's been a thing for a few years now. Are you red pilled? Are you in that, that space? I hate it. I hate it all. Let the movie be. Here's an unconventional one that I doubt you'll see on a lot of people's lists for action movies. But, and I'm sorry, again, The Matrix, I celebrate Matrix 2 and 3. It took me many, many years to forgive the route they went with the Matrix sequels. And I understand there were many other ways in my headcanon where I think it would have worked better, but we got what we got, and I am appreciative of it. The Matrix Reloaded is fun as shit. It's got so many awesome set pieces, so many cool action moments. Matrix Revolutions is definitely the weakest. It's a huge step down, but I've calmed on it. I've calmed on it. And if nothing else, we do have the final Agent Smith versus Neo brawl in the streets, in the rain. It's pretty cool. Everything else is forgiven. Oh, and we have that scene where this is one of my top scenes from all the Matrix movies, this Matrix moment. This would be another fun thing to do on a podcast. Top 20 favorite little moments in movies. Tiny moments in movies that make it so much better. And in this particular instance, it's when it's Neo. No, I don't think it's Neo. It's Surf or Seraph, however you say it. Seraph, Trinity, and Morpheus. They're trying to find Neo, who's trapped between worlds. He's at the train station, right? So they go to this weird underground S&M party with vampires, and they have to go through the subway turnstiles. And I love how they frame this because the Wachowskis put the camera on a side angle so you see exactly how all three of them go through the turnstile, and each one of them does it differently. Morpheus does this cool jump through it. Trinity does a cartwheel over it, and Seraph does a slide or something just as slick. It's great. It's a tiny little moment that works so well, going through a freaking turnstile. All right, Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Oh, we don't talk about Matrix regurgitations. Matrix 4 is one of the biggest piles of shit I have ever seen. I don't think there is a movie that's let me down harder than The Matrix 4. I had my original buddies. We're all grown up, middle-aged dudes. We waited in line for The Matrix, the original movies, when we were kids, in high school. The third one came out. Or college, I don't know, something like that. But I remember waiting for 8 hours in line for that film. And so to all these years later, come together as grown-ass men, finding time to once again see a movie that we grew up with on the big screen for the fourth time. And fuck, I hated that movie so bad. I remember turning to my friends so many times, just shaking our heads what is this? And by the end, we were actually laughing at things. Not obnoxiously in the audience, not being rude, but just laughing to each other. Like, you have to at that point. It's gotten so poor. It's gotten so bad, so off the rails that you can't help but just laugh at the ridiculousness of the situation you find yourself in. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. This is another film by Edgar Wright. Let me jump on. Yeah, Edgar Wright. Okay. Scott has to battle 7 deadly exes to win the heart of Ramona Flowers. He's currently in a relationship with Knives Chow, who's in high school. She's younger than Scott. There are so many actors in this movie. Let me read off the list. Listen to this list. Michael Cera, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Ellen Wong, Kieran Culkin, Allison. Who's Allison? I don't know who that is. Let me go to people I know. Jason Schwartzman, Anna Kendrick, Aubrey Plaza, Chris Evans, Brandon Routh, Brie Larson. The list goes on and on. You have so many great cameos and fun characters in this movie. There's a super vegan. There's a gay lover that has a giant comical whip thing. Ramona Flowers has this awesome hammer. This is based on, do you call these graphic novels as well? Comics, there's a few of them I know. And they're page for page sometimes, showing things going on. But Edgar Wright has such a fun way that he plays with lettering in the movie and the stylized action. And every 7 Deadly Sins fight is completely different from the last. One of them's hand to hand, which leads into some weird musical for a little bit. And another time he has to have a skateboard off with Chris Evans, who's an actor in the movie. And he has stunt doubles that Scott has to fight. Then he has a music battle, like a music battle of the band situation. And music, again, Edgar Wright's known for his music. It's infused through this whole thing. It's one of the best soundtracks ever. I know they're redoing. I'm not like huge on what they're doing, actually. Netflix is making a animated version of this movie. And I think it's like exactly the same. So it's not a sequel. It's the same exact story with all the same voice like all these actors in this film came back to voice their characters, which is cool. But why do the same movie again? It's the reverse of what Disney's doing. Disney's live actioning all their animated films. This thing on Netflix has animated their live action film. I'm not huge on it because I think this movie is about as perfect as you could possibly get. It's an action movie through and through. There's tons of it in it. Oh, man. Oh, my God. Before I go to this one, we have some super chats finally coming in. I appreciate the super chats. Perm for $10. The Matrix is my favorite movie, tied with Back to the Future. Good. Good man, Perm. I assume you're a man. I don't know. Good woman. Whatever you are. Perm. Perm is Perm. And Perm's got good taste. Thank you for the super chat. Jan Rose for $5. Thank you, Jan. The Dark Knight is one of my favorite action movies. Oh, and that Expendables reel was hilarious as fuck. Keep it coming. Love those reels. Thank you, Jan. My goal is to get more over the top with the out of theater reactions every single time. So expect some very frantic, all over the place, goofy out of theater reactions from me going forward. I have a fun time doing them. I'm trying to have fun doing them. Jan, Dark Knight is not on my list. It was on my list. I pulled it off. I put it on. I pulled it off. It sounded a little sexual. That's okay. It's Adam Does Movies. I didn't find Dark Knight to be that action heavy. I find Dark Knight and Christopher Nolan movies in general as more psychological thrillers with little spices of action sprinkled in, little sprinkles here and there. Dark Knight Rises has a decent amount. Batman Begins has a decent amount. I found Dark Knight to have kind of a small amount of action, although I guess you could say it's comparable to Heat. You know, Heat's a long movie, Dark Knight's a long movie, and every so often you do get a really visceral action set piece. So it's definitely a fair play. I think I might have Heat on my list. So by that standard, I should really have the Dark Knight on here as well. And you are right to have it on yours because Dark Knight is brilliant. Blade, 1998. We could easily put Blade 2 on here as well. Blade 2, I think, is better than Blade, but I can hear both sides of the argument. Blade 1, definitely grittier, definitely more violent, bloodier, I would say, more of a horror. The sequel is more action with horror elements. But Del Toro did the sequel film, and God, I'm such a sucker, and I brought this up before on the stream. I am a big sucker of these early 2000s movies. I'm referring to Blade 2 here, where the CG is pretty shoddy, yet the director goes all in on it. They don't give a fuck. So you'll have Wesley Snipes doing his actual cool ninja sword moves, and then he will clearly turn into a CG version of himself, a CG body double, and he'll jump like 30 feet into the air, do a flip, defy gravity, and then he'll land as the actor again. It will be it'll be this great seamless interplay where you obviously can tell the difference. But I love how Blade 2 goes so hog wild with it. In the final fight with the Master Reaver, they are exchanging blows, and 50% of the time it's really actors, and the other 50% it's these CG doubles. And I think it's so fun. I can't wait till my kids are a little older. Olivia could watch it, but Connor, I need him to be a little older, and we're going to watch the shit out of Blade 1 and 2 because they are great. Wesley Snipes owns this role. When the recast was announced, I didn't care. No one they pick is going to hold the candle to Snipes. He is Blade, in my opinion. He was born to play this character, kind of like Ryan Reynolds was born to play Deadpool. To a lesser extent, Hugh Jackman became Logan. I could see an argument, though, for someone else. There's some actors that just embody the role so well, and Blade is one of them. Oh, and to shout out Blade for one of the greatest introductions to a superhero character, full stop. That blood rain shower scene in the meat packing plant with the vampire rave. Oh my God, what a cool intro. And the music, oof. It's really good. All around very good. And I think that there was definite inspiration for The Matrix from Blade. Or vice versa. Matrix was 99, I think. So yeah, I think Blade inspired. We're drinking a gas station Coca-Cola Classic today. It's my first sip. My throat was a little parched. I don't think we have a lot left. See if there's any more super chats. Nope, we're ghost right now. Okay. Edge of Tomorrow. We got Edge of Tomorrow here, folks. I should probably click on these for the video, so at least you get a little something more to look at than my mug if you're watching. Tom Cruise. We got Emily Blunt. Bill Paxton. This would have been one of Bill Paxton's later year roles because, obviously he's not alive anymore. But Edge of Tomorrow is really cool. It's a sci-fi action flick. It's also known as Live, Die, Repeat. It's been rebranded 3 times. Before it was Edge of Tomorrow, it was like Solaris or something weird. And then they called it Edge of Tomorrow. And then when it came out on DVD, they rebranded it to Live, Die, Repeat. So you might know it as that. And then there was supposed to be a sequel called Live, Die, Repeat, Repeat. But that has not come to be yet, which is a tragedy. Tom Cruise is Tom Cruise in this, like he always is. But, the guy knows how to make a good action movie. He knows how to star in a good action movie. Emily Blunt is peak Blunt here. She's smoking hot. She's a great counterpoint to Tom Cruise, who's also smoking hot, like always. And I think the suits, they have these like mech suits. They fight these alien mechanical creatures. They're kind of like the Sentinels from The Matrix. It has a Groundhog's Day situation going on. Days keep repeating. This one day keeps repeating itself. And Tom Cruise's character, I don't care what his name is. It's a Major Bill Cage. What a generic name. Bill Cage has to figure out how to stop the day from repeating, which is to kill the source of the repetition, a master queen alien in the heart of the city where the world is ending. Bill Cage is the only guy that can figure this out. He has to somehow convince Emily Blunt's character. I don't know her name. We'll call her Tanya Shores. That sounds like a generic name she could have. And they are going to together work as a team to figure this out. It's got a great ending. I remember it, but I don't remember at the same time. I've watched Edge of Tomorrow probably 4 times, and I still can't remember what the ending is. So every time I watch it, it's new again. That's the brilliance of this film and the brilliance of my lack of good memory. God, Edge of Tomorrow's great. Where's the sequel? Jan, $5 super chat says Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is amazing. Anything with Tom Cruise is heart flame, heart flame, heart flame. Love fire, love fire, love fire. I assume that's what that means, Jan. And I agree with you. Except for the mummy. We don't, not the mummy. Troy McClure is here. $2 super chat. Thank you. Good picks, but they could all use more thrusting. Thrust! 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 Thrust it! Thrust it! That's from Showgirls. If you don't know the reference, that's from Showgirls. I recently roasted the living hell out of that. The new roast video. You should check it out. You should really check it out and share it and like it and do all that stuff, because it's not like people are searching up Showgirls movie. So it's really grassroots support at that point for some of these roasts. It's grassroots. Mad Max Fury Road, 2015. George Miller's back, baby. Directing his second movie of all time. It's so funny. George Miller's been around forever, and he's really only directed like 6 movies. He takes his time and then some. There's people that make a meal out of something. George Miller makes a feast out of something. He goes all in. Mad Max Fury Road is the definition of going all in. This movie is insane. Balls to the wall, nonstop, breakneck speed, all out warfare in the sand. These people are trying to get away from some of the grossest grease monkey car dudes you've ever seen. It's like a typical Tuesday for me in South Carolina. Tom Hardy, who's playing Tom Hardy, which is to say a guy covered up. What a role, right? Tom Hardy's major characters are Bane from Batman, where you never see him. Mad Max from Fury Road, where his face is covered 80% of the film in that berserker mask thing. And then he's in Dunkirk, where he's got an aviator pilot mask on for the entire film as well. Like, this guy could be deep faked and we would not know it at all. They could have a body double play his character. He could just do some voice work, I guess, although you can't really ever hear his voice. Really, this is a Charlize Theron vehicle. She's part of this like group of women that got away. They've been living out in the middle of this oasis. Mad Max gets her and the rest of these princesses, and they're trying to get to another castle. I just, the way that this is shot and filmed, a lot of practical effects, a surprising amount of CG that people don't even realize, which is the best kind of CG. For instance, if you haven't seen the behind the scenes, there's shots of them driving these cars down a road in the desert, going by all these huge mountain peaks and canyons. There's a dude playing the guitar, fires blasting, dudes are jumping around on ladders. The stunt work is all practical. They really are swinging ladders around vehicles. What's not are the mountains. We're completely painted in, which is awesome. That's really cool. This movie's very cool. There's supposed to be a sequel. Oh, no, I believe it's a prequel. So Mad Max Fury Road has had a prequel in the works for like 1,000 years. The girl that's in everything, Princess Peach, the voice of Princess Peach, she has a few names to her belt. She's in Queen's Gambit. What is it? Anya Taylor-Joy. I got there on my own. Anya Taylor-Joy is playing the role that Charlize Theron had. I don't know. I forgot her name. I forgot her character name. Doesn't matter. I am a little bummed out. I know Charlize is bummed out that she didn't get to reprise the role because she could easily pull it off. But I guess they're just gotta get someone else, which is a shame. Oh, well, would you look at that, Jan? Would you look at that? Mission Impossible. And this runs the gamut. Jan, you will actually be interested to know I had Ghost Protocol as the pick on here. But by the time I got to this point of the list, I thought, you know what? Why? Why Ghost Protocol? There's a ton of great moments in the early movies, including the first. The bullet train sequence at the end, the breaking into the high maximum security computer area where the sweat's dripping down, the fish tank blowing up. Then you have the cheesy ass John Woo movie in the second one where he's got the long hair, he's on a motorcycle. There's plenty of great action moments in that. Plus, the third J.J. Abrams film really kind of resets the whole tone of the series. You have oh god, I'm gonna forget his name. Philip Seymour Hoffman as the best villain in the franchise in the third movie. Then Ghost Protocol takes things up another notch. I mean, all of them kind of just keep ratcheting up the scale. There's really not a bad one in the mix, and the second one, I guess, but it's still watchable. It's a watchable bad movie, I think. Yeah, this is Cruise at his best. This is Cruise at his best right here. And I am in agreement. I do think Ghost Protocol is my favorite. Just inching out for me over the fifth one. God, there's so many of these movies. What is Mission Impossible? Mission Impossible. I think it's Rogue Nation, but I get all of them kind of confused. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Mission Impossible 5, Rogue Nation, and Ghost Protocol are right next to each other on my lineup of awesome action Mission Impossible movies. Okay, next up, we are almost at the end. So I would like to suggest, if you have a movie that's your favorite action film, super chat it now. I'll get to them at the end because I only have 4 or 5 more on here. So it's very likely if you have one in your back pocket, now's the time to throw it out because it's probably not going to be on my list. Okay, what do we got? We got Trey McClure for $2. He says good picks, but they could all use. Oh no, I already read that. He was really into the thrusting. Perm, $5. Love all these movies, and yes, I'm a man, baby. That's right, Perm. That's right. Okay, we got Hot Fuzz. Another Edgar Wright. I have 2 Edgar Wright movies on here. This is part of whatever that trilogy's called. I don't know the name of it. Doesn't matter. Simon Pegg's in them all. Nick Frost is in them all. It's their little universe that they're in. Hot Fuzz is a really fun one because it's really 2 different movies to me. It's a murder mystery for the first half of this cop who's bored out of his mind with his lame desk job. He wants to get into the fray. He wants some excitement in life. He's partnered up with this kind of dumb, lovable oaf. And together they're in this weird ass town full of mystery, full of intrigue, and full of murder. And when they find out it's this crazy cult behind the scenes, the second half turns into an all-out Michael Bay extravaganza, complete with those same camera angles, awesome action, over-the-top music, and expensive effects, explosions, you name it, it's parodied in here to perfection. Big fan of Hot Fuzz. Here we go. All right, we have Heat on here from 1995. I just rewatched Heat 4 or 5 months ago for the first time in decades. It holds up really well. It's a long movie, but it takes its time, tells a gripping tale of these 2 different walks of life. You have Pacino's character, a man of law, trying to take down these master criminals. Robert De Niro is prime in this. Pacino's in full form. The scenes where they sit down together and have their dialogue that apparently I don't even think they rehearsed, I think they went in fresh. And the monologues they have these are just top performers at the peak of their game, exchanging heavy dialogue, trying to outman each other. It's just trying to out-Michael man each other. You have the sadly late Val Kilmer in this. Val Kilmer died, didn't he? Did he die? Val Kilmer. It said late Val Kilmer, but I can't remember if he died. I know he had like some horrible throat cancer. He's still alive. Okay, well, the late still alive Val Kilmer is in this. God, why did I think he died? There's that sad documentary that came out not that long ago. Oh, whatever. Okay. A lot of great actors in this movie. Someone's probably dead that's in here. Yeah. I have a full review of Heat on my channel not that long back. I swore he died. Now I'm really flustered about the whole thing. This will be a controversial one, but I think it has to be on here. Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring. Again, all three Lord of the Rings movies can go on here. I'm even bold enough to say you can throw all three Hobbit movies on here. Action comes in many faces, comes in many shadows, many shades. Lord of the Rings takes us to Middle Earth, where we have elves fighting orgs, creatures of darkness. We have wizards fighting other wizards, spellcasters. There's hobbits trying to run for their lives. I mean, you have every cool ass thing you can think of from a unearthly realm thrown into these films. Gollum, the creepy ass Smeagol piece of shit who's lying and deceiving, causing a muck. You have Saruman, you have the king, you have Legolas, one of the coolest action stars, one of the coolest elves of all time. Yeah, there's giant cave troll battles. There's a Balrog battle. Freaking Legolas slides down the trunk of a massive elephant. There's a ghost army. I can go on for hours about these films. I probably have if you stock up all the time I've talked about them on the channel. Lord of the Rings trilogy deserves to be on an action list because they're full of action. But even better, they're full of heart. So you have action, plus you have the great story. It's the best of both worlds. Now, I will say, this list does not have any, which is sad to say. This is sad to say. I don't think I have any Jackie Chan movies on here. I tried to pick movies that are more than just good action films, and I think Jackie Chan movies are just good action films. They're not really good movies. So the story's usually pretty terrible. The acting's very bad. The effects is very dodgy. But the action, of course, is great. So if we were to do a martial arts list, that's where I would throw Jackie Chan films. Operation Condor, Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan First Strike, some of his really old stuff. What does he have? Like Hidden Master or I can't remember the names of all of them. I've seen a stupid amount of them though, including this really early stuff where he's like stepping on different teacups, moving around while holding bags of grain, and his master's like whipping him in the stomach. I can't remember the names of these. I apologize. But Jackie Chan, obviously the king of action. Bruce Lee's made some great movies, of course, too. But this is more Americanized with an occasional touch of something foreign thrown into the mix. And all the time, I like them for a lot of different reasons, not solely action. True Lies. There it is. Someone brought it up earlier. It is kind of an underrated, underappreciated James Cameron film. Probably the least known of the Cameron movies. You have The Abyss, you have Titanic, you have Avatar, you have Aliens, Terminator, and then it seems like True Lies is just kind of a separate conversation once in a while, messaged in passing. But True Lies is one of my favorite James Cameron movies. It's one of my favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movies. It really marries these two director / actor in perfect harmony. You have Jamie Lee Curtis in her prime. You have lots of great action scenes. Plus, you have comedy thrown in. At one point, this movie completely shifts gears and it turns into a film about Arnold Schwarzenegger trying to find out if his wife's having an affair. And we spend like 30 minutes on this before we get back to the actual plot. True Lies is great. Raiders of the Lost Ark, again, Indiana Jones, the original trilogy, all belong on this list. These are timeless action films. Have they shown their age? Of course, especially Temple of Doom has some pretty rough special effects. Raiders is almost perfect in my eyes. Last Crusade is really good still. They have a pulpy Saturday morning cartoon feel to them, and that's intentional. So even as they show their age, it's really not a bad thing. They kind of by design have some age already associated to them. We don't need to talk more about that. Harrison Ford embodies the role. You know, I could put Star Wars on this list. I just didn't know how far to go because the Star Wars original trilogy probably deserves a spot. It's on a lot of different lists already. You have a sci-fi list I'd throw it on. I'd throw it on greatest movies of all time list. We can calm down with Star Wars, I think. We all know. We all know. Now, speaking of Die Hard on a Bus, Speed. Watched this one with the family, I think a year ago. Keanu Reeves, really good in this. Sandra Bullock, America's Sweetheart, one of her early roles, really nails it. This is a fun one, folks. And the villain, Dennis Hopper, he's prime here. The way he laughs at the one part, I love doing that. My son was doing that for like a month straight. You have Jeff Daniels in here too. I forgot about that. Is Jeff Daniels dead? I think everybody's dead. I feel like every movie I click on, I think he's dead now. That's too bad. Face Off. I want to take his face off. Okay, this is the last one on my list. Out of all the movies on here, Face Off is probably the worst. Probably pretty easily the worst. Con Air should really be on here over Face Off. The only reason I put Face Off on this is I love the performances. Stallone. I love the performance. Stallone's in this, of course. I love the performance that Cage gives. And equally, if not more impressive, is Travolta, I think. John Travolta playing Nicolas Cage, playing his character. It's just like 3 shades. It's 3 days separated, and I love it. Who is Castor Troy? I am Castor Troy. I'm Castor Troy. You have Nicolas Cage, full Cage in it. This is a John Woo movie. You have white doves. I don't know what other kind of doves there are. You have doves. You have really crappy, choppy, slow motion. Wonderful one-liners. A lot of over-the-top action. You can't go wrong with Face Off. There are some really weird things in this movie. There's a lot of people touching faces, too. And I don't mean when they're doing the surgery. I mean, one of the big things about this is the mother and kid, or the dad and kid, they're always like touching the face, feeling the different nuances in the skin. I don't know what's going on with that. It's John Woo. It's John Woo. And this is my list. Maybe a little sloppy at the end. Maybe these aren't the powerhouse mainstays that some of the others are, but I think we all know them and appreciate them for multiple reasons. And I'd love to hear from you now. Now's the time. If you have one that I did not mention, get the super chats in. It's Friday night. I'm feeling spicy. I'll stick around for a while if you want to. If the super chats come in, I'll stay in. We have a couple. We have a beautiful $10 one from Dieter Bastian. Good morning, Adam. Great list, but I have to watch Scott P again. Never saw it as an action movie. To add some movies, Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, fair. Really, I should have said you can, when I said Mad Max Fury Road, that was obviously the 3 that came before it. I guess, you know what? I've never seen Thunderdome. I've heard mixed things. Some people really like it. Some people hate it, but I've never seen it. What else? Police Story, which is, I believe, Jackie Chan. RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop's fun. RoboCop's fun. Hard Target. Yes. Hard Target with Jean-Claude Van Damme. That's probably his best movie. Bloodsport's solid too, but Hard Target's really fun. That has a scene early on when he roundhouse kicks a meter and coins go flying out in slow motion. He roundhouse kicks so hard he busts open one of those pay meters on the side of the road. Long Kiss Goodnight is a classic. I've seen that movie a stupid amount of times. That's a Remy Harlan film. He did Die Hard 2. Gina Davis is the main star, another strong female lead, and Gina Davis gets it in this. She's really good in here. Samuel L. Jackson, blinking. You look around, he's kind of like Sin City. You go down the wrong alley, you see Samuel L. Jackson. He's in an alley somewhere in every movie. Samuel L. Jackson exists. You may not see him, but he's there. And he's very much present in Long Kiss Goodnight, and he's great in it. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Very good picks. I haven't seen RoboCop in a while. It's been a minute, but RoboCop, of course, really fun. Perm's back, $5. Thank you, Perm. Just wanted to give a tip of the hat to Point Break, and I could watch Fifth Element on repeat all day long. I'm going to say something that might make people sick to their stomach. I'm going to take a drink before I say it. I've never seen Point Break. Patrick Swayze, another person. I've never seen it. I didn't see the remake either. I feel like I missed the point where I could watch it and have it be anything but not great. But if you think it's if it's still awesome, then I guess I should probably give it a chance at some point. I should watch Point Break, get it out of my system, earn a prize. Fifth Element is fucking awesome. I love that movie. It got raked over the coals when it hit theaters. It got lambasted by critics. I saw that movie back-to-back nights. I was a big fan of it. And I did almost put it on the list. There's just too many. Yeah. There's just too many. That's the bottom line. All right. I'll give you a couple more seconds, a couple more minutes before I duck out. Thank you guys for the super chats and for some of those suggestions. Point Break is definitely one that I should get on my list. I think that's one of the few that I read off today that I had not seen. And I highly suggest you check out the ones that I brought up, especially the Raid movies. I got to rewatch them, obviously. I don't remember the plots worth a damn. I just remember there's a lot of kick-ass explosions and hand-to-hand combat, great martial arts happening. There's a lot of good movies in the space, is the bottom line. All right, I'm not going to waste any more time. Thank you, guys. We are going to have the podcast out Monday, as always. It goes out at, God, what do I do? I think I do 8 a.m. 8 a.m. the podcast goes out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and any other podcast service I have set up. I believe Amazon is one of them, and Google, maybe a couple others. Who knows? iHeartRadio, that's a thing I'm on, I believe. I don't really check them out. It all kind of populates there on its own. But that goes out Monday. The topic is TBD, of course, because I'm seat of my pants over here, full-time job, family, just trying to get this all squared away when I can. What else do we got coming up? We got the movie roast for Super Mario Brothers, the movie. That's going to hit next week. The week after, we have Twilight movie roast. The review next week will be on The Creator, and that will be one that I actually will do a full review on. It won't just be one of the live reviews. Although if you guys like it, we can see how it works out. We can see how it goes. Otherwise, I don't think I have anything else. Again, maybe check out Patreon, patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. Become a YouTube member right here via the YouTube join. And with that, I will say have a great weekend, and I will see you very soon. Take care.